There are moments in life that pass like ordinary seconds, and then there are moments that change the rhythm of your heart forever. Today, I want to talk about a moment that seems small, almost invisible to the world. A moment so simple that most people would miss its meaning. But for someone who truly loves, it means everything. The moment when she said your name, not just as a word, not just as a sound in the air, not just as a sound in the air, but the way she said it softly, like it carried a secret, like your name suddenly became something warmer, something alive. Because when the person you care about whispers your name, it doesn't feel ordinary anymore. It feels like the universe paused for a second just to let you hear it. Your name, spoken by her, becomes a place where your heart wants to stay. And maybe that's the strange magic of love. Out of all the names in the world, out of all the voices that exist, there's only one voice that can say your name in a way that makes your soul listen. And when she said your name, something inside you realized that this wasn't just a moment. It was the beginning of a story your heart had been waiting to hear. There are moments in life that look small from the outside, moments that no one else notices. They don't shake the ground, they don't stop time, and they don't stop time, and they don't make headlines. But inside, a heart that is learning what love truly feels like, those quiet moments can become everything. One of those moments is the first time she says your name in a way that feels different. Not the way people usually say it when they are calling you across a room or asking for your attention. Not the casual way a stranger says it when they're just being polite. I mean, the way she says it when there is something softer behind it. The way she says it when there is something softer behind it, something warmer, something that carries emotion you can't quite explain, but you can definitely feel. Because when someone you care about says your name with that kind of energy, something inside you pauses. It's like your heart recognizes that something important just happened, even if the world around you keeps moving as if nothing changed. Your name suddenly stops being just a name. It becomes a feeling. All your life, people have been saying your name, teacher said it, friends said it, family said it. Use. Sometimes they said it with excitement, sometimes with frustration, sometimes without thinking about it at all. But the moment she said it, something was different. It wasn't louder than everyone else's voice. It wasn't dramatic or theatrical. In fact, it might have been quiet. It might have been almost a whisper. But somehow it reached deeper than any other voice ever had. And that's the strange, beautiful thing about love. Love has a way of turning ordinary words into something unforgettable. Your name doesn't change. The letters stay the same. The sound stays the same. The sound stays the same. But when she says it, it feels like the meaning suddenly grows larger. You hear it, and something inside your chest feels lighter. You hear it, and the noise of the world fades just a little bit. You hear it, and you realize that sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest emotions. Maybe she said your name while smiling. Maybe she said your name while smiling. Maybe she said it during a quiet conversation when both of you were sharing pieces of your lives. Maybe she said it in a moment when you needed reassurance, when you needed to know that someone saw you, understood you, and cared about you. And in that moment, it felt like your name was more than a sound. It felt like recognition, like someone looked at you, truly looked at you, and decided that your presence mattered. There is something deeply human about that feeling. Everyone in this world wants to be seen. Everyone wants to be heard. Everyone hopes that somewhere out there is music, a person who will look at them and say their name as if it means something special, not because of fame, not because of success, not because of anything the world celebrates, but simply because of who you are. When she says your name with love behind it, you realize that your existence reached someone's heart, that the story of your life crossed paths with hers in a way that created a connection. Maybe she says it when she's telling a story about you. Maybe she says it when she's laughing a story about you. Maybe she says it when she's laughing about something you did. Maybe she says it when she's thinking about you even when you're not around. And every time it happens, that simple word becomes a bridge because names carry identity. They carry memory. They carry meaning. When someone says your name with affection, they are acknowledging the person you are, the person you've been, and the person you're still becoming. And love has a quiet power to make that acknowledgement feel extraordinary. You start to notice the little ways she says it, the way her tone changes when she's teasing you, the softness in her voice when she says it during a sincere moment, the warmth that appears when she says it while smiling. Each time feels slightly different, but each time carries the same underlying message. You matter. You are present in her thoughts. You are someone she recognizes. And that kind of recognition can change the way a person sees themselves. Because sometimes we go through life feeling invisible. We move through crowded streets, busy days, long nights, and endless conversations where people talk but rarely connect. Then suddenly someone enters your life and speaks your name as if it belongs in their heart. And for a moment, the world feels quieter, calmer, more meaningful. You start to realize that love doesn't always arrive with dramatic gestures. Summity, Valars in the way someone says your name. Sometimes it arrives in the way someone says your name. Sometimes it arrives in a voice that carries patience and understanding. Sometimes it arrives in a moment so simple that if you blinked, you might miss it. Your heart remembers, because deep down, every human being is searching for a place where their name feels welcome, a place where it's spoken with kindness, a place where it carries warmth instead of expectation. Music, a place where it sounds like belonging. When she says your name like that, it feels like your heart found that place. Not a perfect place, not a place without challenges or misunderstandings, but a place where two people recognize each other's existence in a meaningful way. And that recognition is powerful. It reminds you that love isn't built on grand speeches or perfect moments. It's built on presence. It's built on presence. It's built on attention. It's built on the quiet ways we acknowledge each other in everyday life. And sometimes the simplest acknowledgement is just saying someone's name in a way that carries care. When she said your name, it may have been the beginning of something you didn't fully understand. Yet the beginning of curiosity, the beginning of emotional connection, the beginning of realizing that another person's voice could affect your heart more than you expected. Because love rarely begins with certainty, it begins with moments, moments that feel small, but echo inside you long after they pass. And hearing your name in her voice might have been one of those moments. A moment that stayed in your memory, a moment that made you pause and wonder why it felt different, a moment that quietly opened the door to feelings you hadn't explored before. Your name, spoken by her, becomes something more than identity. It becomes emotion. It becomes memory. It becomes the sound of someone acknowledging. It becomes the sound of someone acknowledging that your presence in their life, Matt. And sometimes that simple acknowledgement is enough to change the direction of a heart, because love often begins in the smallest ways: a conversation, a shared smile, a moment of understanding, or a voice that says your name in a way that makes you realize you're not just another person passing through someone's life. You are someone they notice, someone they remember, someone whose name carries warmth when it leaves their lips, someone whose name carries warmth when it leaves their lips. And when you hear it like that, you begin to understand that love doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it arrives quietly, hidden inside a single word: your name, spoken by someone whose voice suddenly feels important to your heart. Music. There is something quietly powerful about the way a person says your name when they care about you. It's not something that can easily be explained, and it's not something that can be measured or proven, yet almost everyone has experienced it at least once in their life. That moment when a voice you recognize, a voice that matters to you, says your name in a way that feels different from every other time you've heard it before. Your name has always been a part of you. It followed you from childhood into adulthood. It was written on school papers, spoken during conversations, and used by people who passed through your life at different times. But most of those moments were ordinary. They carried no deep emotion. They were simply part of everyday communication. But when she said your name, something about it changed. The letters didn't change. The sound didn't change. Yet the feeling behind it did. And sometimes that's all it takes to make something ordinary become unforgettable. When someone you care about says your name with sincerity, it can feel as if they are recognizing something deeper about you. When someone you care about you, not just the surface version that the world usually sees, but the quieter parts of who you are, the parts that hold your thoughts, your hopes, your fears, and your dreams. There is a kind of honesty in that moment. Through the small ways we acknowledge each other's existence, through the simple act of speaking someone's name as if it holds meaning. Think about how many voices exist in the world. Millions of people speaking, millions of conversations happening every second. Music, words are constantly moving through the air, filling spaces with sound. Yet out of all those voices, there are only a few that your heart truly listens to. Her voice becomes one of those voices. And when she says your name, it doesn't feel like just another word passing through a conversation. It feels personal. It feels intentional. It feels like a moment where two lives briefly pause and recognize each other. Music. Sometimes it happens during a quiet conversation when the world around you feels calm. Sometimes it happens unexpectedly in the middle of laughter or storytelling. Sometimes it happens when you least expect it, and that surprise makes it even more meaningful. You hear your name and suddenly you realize that the way she said it carries something gentle, music, something warm, something that reaches a place inside your heart that you didn't realize was waiting for that sound. Love often begins like this, not with dramatic declarations, not with perfect timing or carefully planned words, but with moments that feel natural and honest. Moments where two people slowly begin to recognize that their lives have crossed paths in a meaningful way. When she says your name with affection, it reminds you that connection doesn't always need to be complicated. Music, sometimes it's as simple as the way someone looks at you when they speak, the softness in their voice, the patience in the way they listen to your response. Those small details create a feeling of presence, a feeling that someone isn't just speaking to you, but actually seeing you. And being seen is something every person longs for. Yeah. In a world where people move quickly and distractions are everywhere, genuine attention has become rare. Conversations often happen while minds are somewhere else. Words are exchanged, but understanding doesn't always follow. But when someone says your name in a way that carries care, it shows that their attention is truly there in that moment. It shows that your presence is being acknowledged, that your existence in that moment matters. That kind of recognition has a quiet impact on the gut, heart. You may not notice it immediately. You may not even realize why the moment stayed in your memory longer than expected. But later, when you think about it again, you begin to understand that something about it felt real. Music, something about it felt sincere. And sincerity is the foundation of love. Because love is not built on perfection, it's built on authenticity. Music, it grows through honesty, patience, and the willingness to truly notice another person. When she says your name, she is doing more than simply addressing you. She is acknowledging the story that belongs to you, the experiences that shaped you, the emotions you carry. Your name becomes a doorway into who you are. And the way she says it shows that she respects that doorway, that she recognizes that behind every name is a life full of moments, lessons, and memories. Love often begins with curiosity about another person's thoughts, curiosity about their experiences, curiosity about the persons they are when the world isn't watching. When she says your name with interest in her voice, it can feel like she is inviting you to share that part of yourself, inviting you to open up, inviting you to exist without pretending to be someone else. And that invitation can be powerful because many people go through life feeling like they have to hide parts of themselves to fit into expectations. They adapt their behavior, their words, and sometimes even their emotions to meet the standards of the world around them. But love creates a different space, a space where authenticity is welcome, a space where someone can simply be themselves without fear of being misunderstood. When she says your name with warmth, it can feel like she is creating that space, a place where you can speak honestly, a place where you can share your thoughts without hesitation, a place where you can share your thoughts without hesitation, a place where your presence feels natural instead of forced. Hat is one of the quiet gifts of love. It doesn't always change the outside world immediately, but it changes how you experience it. The same streets feel different. The same days feel lighter. The same conversations carry deeper meaning. And sometimes all of that begins with a single moment, a moment where she says your name and something inside you realizes that your story has just become connected to someone else's. Not in a dramatic or overwhelming way, but in a gentle, unfolding way, like two paths slowly discovering that they are walking in the same direction. The beauty of that connection is that it doesn't demand perfection. It simply asks for presence, for honesty, for patience. And when someone says your name with genuine emotion, it reminds you that presence is the most valuable thing one person can offer another. Because time is limited, moments pass quickly, days turn into memories before we even realize it. But when someone chooses to give their attention to you in that moment, it becomes something meaningful. Their name becomes a symbol of that attention, a reminder that someone paused their world long enough to acknowledge yours. And when love grows between two people, those small acknowledgments become the threads that hold the connection together. The way you greet each other, the way you speak each other's names during conversations that matter. Those details may seem small to outsiders, but to the people involved, they become part of the emotional language of the relationship. Music that doesn't always need long explanations. Sometimes it only needs a voice, speaking a familiar name with care. Over time, that sound becomes comforting. It becomes something your heart recognizes instantly. It becomes something your heart recognizes instantly. You hear it and you feel understood. You hear